Record. There we go. Okay, so welcome. If you're joining, welcome. Please feel free to say hello in the chat and tell us where you're calling and joining us from. I just want to pause before we get started here and acknowledge that I'm joining you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Hunky-Minam speaking Musqueam people. And am thankful for this space and this place to be able to pause in my week and come and talk with all of you about this program I'm really excited about. I know that there's this kind of interesting connection for me to the Indigenous communities that would come and live on this land long before we were ever here. And they would come and they would set up summer camps and gather resources. They would fish and gather berries to sort of hold them over the winter. And I kind of find that to be an inspiring connection for myself to the work that I do, in that idea of sharing and gathering resources together as we sit and work together and build community as well. And so I know we're all joining from different places, and those lands all have different histories. And so just want to give space for that recognition and that the stories that come with the lands that you're joining us from as well. And I should say, Norm and I both we live about a mile apart. And so we are both joining from this place. Norm, do you want to say hi?
Hi, it's good to be here. I've been in Mexico for about a month, so I'm back now, getting used to the new weather. And but I mean, it's always nice to have a little bit of a break during the winter. But back, anyway, I enjoy working with Andrea. She's my daughter, in case some of you don't know that, and we work together. I've retired from the University of British Columbia, and she's now my boss. So we have this intergenerational mentoring thing going on where we're learning from each other, and it's really exciting.
All right, well, let's talk about what's happening. And I know that for some of you, it's lunchtime. Some of you are joining from different parts of the world, so welcome. It's other time zones for you. But if you do need to turn off your camera and eat lunch, or if you want to eat lunch on camera, that's fine too. Feel free to do what you need to take care of yourself. Also, if you have questions as we go, feel free, you can put them in the chat, you can raise your hand and ask them in the moment. Whatever feels like it works for you, we are happy to just kind of work with you on that. We will leave some space at the end as well for questions. So if you want to just kind of wait and see if your question gets answered, you can do that too. And if I jump over a question in the chat, that doesn't mean that we're ignoring you. That means that probably it's a bit of a longer answer, and I want to make sure we have time for that afterwards. Okay, let's get started here. Oh, sorry, my computer is doing funny things right now, so I'm just gonna do a quick switch here, and we'll get started. Okay, now I can share. Once in a while, does this. There we go. Okay. So this is the Career Coaching Masterclass information session. It is February 20th somehow. I don't know how that happened so quickly, but here we are at the end of February. And we're just going to be walking through some of the different pieces that you might be wondering about as they relate to this course coming up. Here's kind of big idea, what we'll be talking about. We've already talked about who we are. We'll talk a little bit more about our backgrounds and just what that means for this program, why this course, the Hope Action Theory, which is a theory that is really one of the foundational pieces to this course, who this is for, what you'll learn, what you can expect, and then looking at the registration process and logistics. And as I said, questions. All right, so before we begin, I would love to know, like, what are your questions? Do you have anything that you sort of came here to get answered? If you do, if you want to just put it in the chat, that will just help us make sure that as we're going through information, that we're actually answering things that you're wondering about. So if you do have any of those, I'll just give you a minute here to put anything specific that you're really wondering about into the chat. Maybe as we do that and give you time for that, we can just talk a little bit more about who we are. Norm, you mentioned you were retired from the UBC. Do you want to talk a little more about who you are?
Sure. I've worked in the career development field for about 40 years and was one of the people who actually initiated the career coaching program at UBC, as well as working
organizational coaching.
Organizational coaching, yeah. And it's been interesting for me because I've been working with a lot of different people in different aspects, looking at something called active engagement, being more dynamic. Also this career, the hope action theory approach, which we'll talk in just a minute about. And also partnering with Andrea on this new career workbook, Career Wayfinder, and that's been sort of an interesting project too. So I've been involved in, right now I do some teaching and a little bit of consulting, but cutting back quite a bit and letting Andrea take the lead. But I'm very interested in working with Andrea, who comes from a coaching perspective, and I have more of a career counseling, career development perspective, and the two of us have enjoy sort of working that together.
And because Norm, as we mentioned when we started, Norm is my dad, and I know that he won't tell you all these things, but he's been in the career development field for what, almost 45 years now, maybe longer, and has traveled all over the world. And I think is considered to be, I know is considered to be one of the thought leaders in career development internationally. He has helped set up career development systems in multiple countries around the world, has an honorary PhD, and we could go on and on and on. His books are translated all over the world. He's won awards. And so he's very humble, but there's just kind of a bigger picture of who he is. And so I guess he works for me, but I get to work with him. And so my background is in coaching. I teach with the organizational coaching program at UBC, and I see some familiar faces here from there. So welcome, hi, nice to see you all. But also I spend a lot of time working in the career development field. Together we've spoken and worked in more countries than I can count at this point. Teaching and training and working with groups, sharing what we are now sharing and kind of bringing to UBC. And we've been kind of doing this for years and years, and ended up just saying, like, look, we should develop something that we could also provide at UBC, because I was noticing that coaches and that there would just seem to be a bit of a gap in training and for people to learn these different approaches to career conversations. And so we're really hoping that this kind of helps you level up your skills in career development and in career coaching, and give you a really good foundation to work off of if you are hoping to move really strongly into career coaching. Okay, so in this course, one of the big theories that we work with, and you will get a letter of completion from UBC, but you also get a certification in the Hope Action Theory model. We thought we would just talk you through a little bit what that is and why that's in this course. Norm was one of the founders of this theory. It's been around for, I think, almost 15 years now. It's been well researched, and it's I think one of the more powerful ways that to work with clients, having that as a foundational understanding. Norm, as one of the founders, do you want to walk us through just briefly what the Hope Action Theory is?
Sure, we don't have much time, but let me just give you kind of a quick overview. It really, you can see that it starts with the idea that hope is at the center. That one of the things we notice when what people need out of career development, career coaching, is they need a sense of hopefulness. But it's not talking about hope in a, just I feel better about myself or this kind of thing. It's saying there's certain competencies, that there's things that you can do to build hope. And these are become sort of the pieces around it. So you've got self-reflection and, thinking about purpose and meaning and what I'm going to do with my life and things like that, or self-clarity, where you sort of develop your knowledge of who I am, what's my personality, my values, my skills and interests, and envisioning what do I see, what's the metaphors I use, what's the vision I have for where I'm headed and what I'm going to be doing. And then we get to that other side, which is the planning and the goal setting and, the practical sort of implementing some of these visions and ideas. Um, and then there's implementing, actually putting it into action, doing something about it, and getting to, but of course, things don't always work out. So then you have adapting and, when you're making changes along the way, and all the while being impacted by the environment and the wind that's blowing this pinwheel around, and we impact, but we're also impacted by, just think of the stuff that's going on in our world politically and socially and economically right now. I mean, there's so much happening, and that also impacts us and the kind of career plans we make and what we're doing. Um, so all of this is one model, and the stick we call the relationship or the connection, the relational, and we use a term called mattering, which is helping people feel that they matter, that they're important, they're significant, which is kind of like, again, a foundation, a starting point where you jump into all these different competencies.
And so this course, and Elias, I see your question, and I'll speak to that in just a minute. This course really builds off of the foundation of that idea of hopefulness, but we sort of bring in some other ideas and connect them together. And so we're looking at also career development as an industry, which is quite a big field of study. And within that, we've combined that a more actively engaged way of working with clients, which includes a lot of you'll find a lot of metaphors and physical movement and just really kind of engaging ways to work with clients. There you'll find in this course also there will be a lot of self-reflection, and we ask our learners to not just learn strategies but actually to complete them and engage in them for yourselves, so that you understand them from the inside out and are able to really effectively work with clients in ways that work for them, and understanding maybe how you can adapt and adjust to fit for what their needs are. And then, as we mentioned, we also come from these backgrounds of counseling and coaching, and so we kind of speak to both sides of this. And there was the question around the intersection between career coaching and coaching. And it's funny, we were actually just sort of talking about this right before we came on this call. And there, as ICF defines it, coaching is typically very non-directive, and you are working alongside in partnership with your clients, following their lead. And then on the other side of that scale is directive, where you are telling them what to do, giving instruction to your clients, and really being clear in what the steps are that they need to take. And so what we do in this course is you'll find this course is probably slightly more on the directive side just for learning purposes. But in what happens in this process is you actually are going to be learning a lot of strategies and tools that you can take and infuse into the work you're doing wherever you feel most comfortable on that kind of spectrum of working. And so we do see coaches who want to stay very non-directional. What you then have is you have this kind of library of resources and exercises that you can, as you're working with clients, you might say like, oh, why don't we use this in this coaching session? Because you're talking about this might be helpful. And so that can be a way that you sort of bring in what you learn from this course. Whereas we also get people who are much more directional and who are much more wanting to give clear instructions and steps. And then they're kind of taking what they've learned and designing something out of it to fit with their client. And so it can fit with a range of approaches, which is why with this course, this is not a coach training program. This is a career coaching program where you're able to come in and learn more about tools and approaches and different ways of engaging with clients, and then you can kind of take it and adapt it to fit in your context. And that's always sort of the question that we're asking as we go is, what are you trying? How would you do it differently? What works for the client that's sitting in front of you?
I think I could add to that it's primarily a coaching, a class, but I also come to it, there's all kinds of overlaps between coaching and counseling. So we talk about some of that and some of the things that coaching might do a little bit different or, whatever. And, but this is not a counseling class. It's a coaching class, and I am probably in terms of my own orientation, I'm fairly close to coaching in terms of approach. So, I use a lot of these kind of things and have used them for years. So that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a few more questions. Maybe we'll just kind of hold on to those. And sorry, I'm already reading it. I'm going to answer it. Vanessa, I see your question. Can this be used to help people find purpose in their current job, or primarily for those looking for different career options? Yes, it absolutely can. We are going to be working through the textbook, the Career Wayfinder, which actually is my next slide. So that was a well-timed question. And in that, there's a wheel that we'll be working through, and you'll be learning exercises and different ways of engaging with clients. This just kind of creates, we wrote this book, it just came out last fall. And so it really is a lot of what's being taught in this program is in this book. And so we're going to be sort of following along in the book. And so you'll be learning an organizing structure, which is the wheel in the book, and how to really go a little bit deeper with clients. And that can be focused on career exploration, looking at career options, but also really just understanding yourself and who you are, so that whether you're looking for a new job or whether you're wanting to advocate for yourself to your current manager about who you are and what you need in a role, or wanting to advance internally, all of those are great outcomes that come from this. And they're not the only ones. Whatever kind of context you're having career conversations in, this will give you some strategies that you can kind of pull out and really use with the clients that you're supporting. I think it's probably important to say, I've already said this, but this is not a coach training program. And so if you're coming here hoping to learn coaching. We're not teaching coaching. You should have some familiarity in what it means to work with a client, what that looks like. You will be asked to work with a client, and there will be some uncertainty that happens, which is pretty natural in a learning experience that you go through. And so just to be aware of that, if you're thinking about if this is the right program for you. And if you're not clear on that, feel free to reach out and let me know. Let's Actually, maybe I'll just mention with this workbook, we do ask everybody to have a copy and we do work through it with you. And so just if you are registering for the program, you may want to look into getting one in advance just to make sure that you have it in hand before the program begins. You can order it on Amazon if you want, but most bookstores are able to bring it in. And if you're really stuck, send me an email. I live in Richmond, and I'll help you figure out how to get one to you. All right, let's talk about who this is for. We've kind of addressed this already. Norm, do you want to?
Well, I think the thing is we've done this, used this approach and this work with people of all ages. So we've worked with groups of youth and individuals, young people. And we also people in companies and whatever. We've done it individual sessions, but we also have done group sessions. So it's quite a wide a wide range of people, and we've been using this. I've been using this for years, and really picking and choosing things that I think are more dynamic, that are memorable. Malcolm Gladwell uses the idea of stickiness, the things that people will remember. And so I think you'll find that by being in this program, you'll learn activities that actually aren't just a bunch of, do this, do that, but they're actually going to stick with people, and they do make a huge difference. So it's some very exciting work I think we're going to be opening up for you.
Yeah, I think you make a good point where this is not like a 10-step process that you're learning. You're entering into and learning a different way of being with clients, and we will talk about everything from like your presence to just even how to deal with the uncomfortable spaces that you might step into when you're working with a client, all the way to how do you include play and storytelling and metaphors into the work you're doing. And so we will spend less time is spent on here's how to work with a client, here's how to begin a conversation and all those kinds of pieces. We're sort of assuming that you already have some level of understanding in that by being part of this course. And we're looking at kind of more leveling up your skills and increasing your impact in the conversations that you're having. We've had all sorts of people from all over the world take this course. This picture actually is from a course that we taught. I think this was in Australia, but we had a lot of people from Australia, Hong Kong, and Singapore were sort of the main areas there. But we've had people who are working in human resources. We've had people who are career advisors, teachers in high schools, career counselors, people who are working internally, externally. There's a really big range of who tends to take this course, and so just the one sort of commonality is that they are supporting other people in career conversations, and they have that kind of understanding. And there was a question about job prospects after this program, and that is really different for a lot of people. Even looking at this picture, though, I'm seeing people and I'm thinking, like, after they completed our program, it's been really interesting to just see their career skyrocket and the ways that they were able to really sort of step into the career development space and develop their own work and their own voice in that space. has been pretty incredible to be able to watch and see happen. The Hope Action theory in career development is quite well known, and so it really, I think we would have to have a more specific conversation about who you are, what your experience has been in order to really speak to job prospects. But this is a theory and a course that is known in this industry.
I think one of the things you can say about this course is it will change you. It will add something to what you're doing, and it'll make you do things and maybe modify some of what you're doing. It's the kind, it'll be set up in a way that it's not just another thing, you put on your shelf. This is something that will actually increase your effectiveness, I think, as a practitioner.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there are more things than we can list, of course, but some of the big ideas of what we see people learning is leveraging the Hope Action theory in career conversations, whether you are actively using it or just aware of it as a framework for yourself. It can be quite helpful. Looking at how to use the Career Wayfinder as a resource with clients. But like Norm said, like we really see a significant shift in self-reflection and confidence in the people who come through this course. There is an assessment that comes with the Hope Action theory, and what it does is it measures your sense of hopefulness, and it's always really interesting because you will take it, but your clients will as well, and it's quite exciting to see the shift and increase in hopefulness that typically happens even within this like 8-week period. You will learn more approaches to work with clients than you will know what to do with. And like I said, it's like having this, I've heard, I think there was someone in our previous course who said, my toolbox is bulging. It's so full of all these different ways of working with clients and having conversations. And so, as we said, like we do a lot of work around creativity and approaches that maybe are a little more non-traditional, but are still very much evidence-based and really kind of heavy in metaphors and looking at how do you work with metaphors with clients.
And could I just add there, and you said evidence-based, and I think there's a lot of research behind some of this stuff that we're going to be showing you. So this is not just, oh, well, I had a great idea and here it is. We're showing you things that you can look up the research and see the kind of things that have worked well. And that makes it exciting because in this field, there's lots of ideas, but these are ideas that have proven themselves in kind of a fairly rigorous, research environment.
Why don't we pause there before we get into like the kind of more logistics of the course? Any questions? Comments? Nadia, your question is my next slide. I will show you. Question is, how much work in terms of time will this require? There it is. It's like I knew you were going to ask that. Oh, and Chris, sorry, yes, we did teach in Australia at one point. We are not there at this point. At this point, this is the only certification in Hope Action theory that is available, but it does work in Australian time zones, our live sessions timing, and we'll get to that. Okay, so you can expect about 5 to 6 hours of pre-work for you'll have about 2 weeks of pre-work before the course begins. And sorry, I'm just going to go back and answer Stella's question because that was relating to our previous conversation. Is it applicable for working with students, working in academic coaching? Absolutely. Yes, I use this. I work with students as well. I think the youngest group I've worked with have been grade 8 and 9. But we have teachers who take this course and they find it incredibly useful with their students. And so, yes, it does span a really broad range of ages and stages of career. Okay, so the course begins. The course is technically 8 weeks long, but you will have 2 weeks of pre-work before the course begins, and that will have some assignments and some work in there in order to onboard onto the course, introduce yourself, and start getting yourself set up so that when we begin actually the course, we're actually ready to begin and can start and kind of hit the ground running. Um, each week you can expect of 6 to 8 hours of coursework, and that includes we have a live session that is 2 hours every week. It happens on Thursday. Well, if you're in Vancouver, it happens on Thursday late afternoon, 3:30 to 5:30 usually is yes, I think that's the timing for that. So if you're in Australia, that's Friday morning. You will be connected with learning triads. You will have assignments each week to complete. There will be pre-recorded webinars to watch, and also you will be working with a client. And so all of these pieces combined together work out to anywhere from 6 to 8 hours per week. And it does change, like you're not meeting with your learning triad every week. You're meeting on just on certain weeks, and you're not meeting with your client every single week, but that's also kind of spread out through the course. I think you have five five client sessions and 4 learning triad sessions. So we tried to kind of alternate weeks or have a little bit of flexibility in that, just so that you're not getting overwhelmed with work as you go. This program is it's cohort based. We are very relational, and that's how we like to teach and lead this program. And so we will connect with you. We like to hear from you, and we actually still are connected. Sorry, with people who have taken this program, even like 3, 4 years, 5 years out, we are still connecting and hearing from them about what they've done and where they're at. And if they have questions, I'm just got asked for a reference from someone who took our course, I think 2 years ago. There is asynchronous content. We have live weekly Zoom calls that I mentioned. And then what we also do is we will come and join with you in one of your small group in your triad meetings. And so you'll get kind of a 1-on-3 time to spend with us to ask questions. How many people per cohort? Good question. Usually we do have a cap on the number of people that we have, but typically it's around 20 to 30, I would say. But it is growing. And so we won't go higher than 40 people in a cohort for sure. Although, yeah, usually we kind of hit around the 25-30 mark. Okay, let's look at, I just want to make sure I'm not missing any more questions. No. Okay, so out of this course, you will get a huge amount of, you'll get resources. And so you will get like worksheets and card sorts and, but also just strategies. Sometimes you just need something that you can bring in and work with the client, that you don't have to like print out a paper and email to them and get them to do, but just instead more of a tool that you know how to use and you understand, that you can put into practice in the moment immediately, that without kind of all the extra stuff around it. So we have a lot of that we will work with you on. I always tell people who are learning coaching, I say like the sign of a good tool, I think, when you're coaching somebody is something that you can take and that can be adapted in a lot of different ways, so that you're not having to kind of memorize steps. Like Norm said, this is not like 3 steps to doing this. Instead, it's what we'll be sharing is more, here's an idea of something, here's how we kind of teach it, you can experience it, but here's kind of the big idea and some ways to adjust it based on who you're working with, so that you kind of have that understanding. Yeah, we talked about personal growth. For coaches, for ICF coaches, this course will give you 20 continuing coach education units. 2 of those are for resource development, and then 18 are for CCEUs. And you'll get a letter of completion from UBC, as well as the certification in Hope Action Theory and Practice as an advanced practitioner. And Norm, do you want to talk a bit about just our community of practice, the LinkedIn group that we have in that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been running
Do you want me to? Yeah.
the certification advanced practitioner training for quite a few years now, and so there's a lot of people that have gone through it, and we try to keep those people connected or find ways and that they can join us, and so that's something that you're going to be part of a group, a growing group that's gone on over the years, and we've been running these groups in different countries and so on. So that's the community that you'll be moving into.
Yeah. All right, here are some dates for you to just be aware of. There is an early bird rate on right now, and so March 30th, that early bird rate ends. April 28th is when the pre-work will begin, and so the course content will be opened up to you. What happens is we open up the course content, so we'll open up the pre-work, and then we'll open up week 1, and everyone will go through week 1 together. And so it opens up a week at a time all the way through into the 8th week. And what that means is then that we're all sort of learning and engaging in the same week's content for that week and discussing it. There is online reflections that you'll be sharing and kind of engaging in as well. And so that really begins May 5th. That week is when the first week of the course begins. At the end of the course, there's a final assignment, which is I think there's 2 parts to it. One is a self-reflection, and just sort of a short paper about what you've learned, how you've grown in the course, and what your next steps are. And then the other piece is a case study and talking a bit about the work that you did with your client and how you sort of took what you were learning and used it with the client that you're working with. Sometimes we get the question of who the client needs to be, and that can be anyone. We're not picky. Sometimes people work with family members. Sometimes people work with friends. It's what we really want is for people just to be practicing what they're learning and not just kind of learning it, but doing it as well. And so you might think about who that client might be for you. Yes, early bird rate versus the regular rate. I believe the regular rate is $33,200 for the 8 weeks, and I think the early bird rate is $200 off, so it's $3,000.
There's also a question from Helen about when this course gets offered, and I think we only offer it once a year, and but I mean we do other training, like we just finished with a group from Alberta that set up a specific training with us and things like that. So this is the only sort of wide open training that we do once a year right now. But we are open to other groups if they approach us and want to have a training. We can make that happen for them.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, this is Canadian dollars, Chris, not
Real money,
US
Canadian
dollars,
dollars.
which I think is pretty close to Australia, in terms of
Yeah.
the, yeah. Um, Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to say here. Yes, so we do it, yeah, once per year is when this is, and I can't. Oh, sorry, organizational coaching. Yes, if you are a graduate of organizational coaching program, there is an additional discount that you can access, and you can email Cynthia about that, and she'll process your registration. All right, how are we doing? Any questions? Sorry, I didn't even put the prices in here. I'm going to write them in the chat. Actually, I'm going to find a link to the site as well so that you can look it up. But unless somebody happens to have it open and wants to do that for me, that would also be great.
Maybe while you're
But
doing that, Andrea, I'll just uh oh there it's all going in
uh,
there.
there it is. Thanks, everyone. See,
Well,
teamwork.
one of the things I think you'll find, I mean, if you join up with this course, be prepared to come to work. Like this isn't sort of like man, just a simple little course. We really are wanting to offer a lot to you, and you're going to have access to a whole set of video. So we have like a small video library that we're going to be opening up to you. And so, in addition to the face-to-face contact, you'll be having this other kind of opportunity. But I mean, it does take time, and it isn't something that you can just slough your way through. It is work and it's hard, but I think in the end, you're going to probably feel that it was worth it and you've actually learned something and something helpful.
Lou Louise is asking, do you recommend having prior coursework done in coaching before taking this master class? You know what, I think it depends on your context. Like, I think that yes, it can be helpful. However, I don't think it's required. If you are working with clients, like we have people who will come who are already working with clients who have some level of awareness of here's what that looks like, here's how to have a conversation one-on-one with somebody. We see sometimes career practitioners is what we call them, and people who are like career advisors or like guidance counselors, even in high schools, or teachers, and people who are already they're working with people. Even people in like human resources and other areas, you're working one-on-one with people already. You may not be a certified coach, but you do kind of have some of those skills already in place. Then this will be able to support that work that you're doing. Sometimes what happens is people will take this program and they'll realize that, oh, like they actually are really interested in coaching, and then they'll go and pursue coaching certification. Or the other way around, sometimes they'll come to this information session and then they'll decide like, oh, I think that I actually want to go and study coaching because I was planning that and that was kind of on my radar anyways, and then I will come and take this course. And so it works both ways. You can do it either way. And that's okay to do. There will be coaches in this program, and so you can learn a little bit about what that means from them, but it is not a requirement of this program. Okay, let's see, a payment plan arrangement. You know what? I think there probably would be, but if you email, then, well, if you email me, or I'm going to put my email in the chat and I can connect you with who would be able to answer that for you. Admission requirements. There are not admission requirements. That's the nice thing with this is a UBC course, but because it is extended learning, there are no requirements as as a stay-at-home mom, yeah, you would be fine to be able to do that. If you're not sure if this is right, and if you want to talk a little bit more, send me an email, and I'm happy to kind of talk with you a little bit more and see what we can do. Okay, here are a few things that some of our previous participants have said about this. These are nice things that, yeah. I'll let you look at that while I just catch up in the chat here and see if there's any more questions. Oh, a question about how to present the opportunity. Is that what you're about to say now?
Yeah.
Do you want to answer that?
No, I think the thing is, again, the person should be willing, they should understand that you just want to try out some different kind of activities with them. And so they need to come to your session, and and those sessions usually run around an hour, maybe a little bit longer. And in terms of workload for them, it's that they would do that, and I think that can be face to face or online. And then, you will give them some activities they might want to do or check in, that kind of thing. So there's a little bit of work involved. Most of the clients, I think, feel that they really got something out of it. So it isn't too much of a burden on them, but yeah, they should be prepared to do that. And we really just want to give you a chance to work with these things. So if you don't have a regular or don't have access to people who are clients, maybe there's somebody in your social network who, you're not going to charge them anything for it, but they want to figure out, you get a better idea of where they should be headed with their career. You can use somebody like that too.
And in terms of quantity of sessions, we're asking you to aim for about 5 sessions over 8 weeks. And so it's almost weekly, but not quite. And that includes an introductory session. And we do give you like I was saying before, we do give you a little bit of direction around okay, at this stage, here's just something you want to maybe have your client do so that you can debrief. You'll have them take the Hope Action Inventory assessment, and then you'll debrief it with them. And so we will give you some direction in some of the different sessions that you have, but generally it's pretty open for you to bring in what you're learning and choose what will actually fit for the client that you're working with. You'll have a number of options every week that you'll learn new tools to learn and practice with. So you'll be able to kind of choose your own adventure as you go with your client and partner with them in that. All right. Here is our contact information. Feel free to reach out if you have questions. But also, are there any questions that we didn't answer? Like, I know some of the questions went by quickly, or maybe you're just kind of thinking about something and wondering about it. This is your time. This is your chance.
Can I ask with my voice instead of typing? Yeah. Just the application process. How does it work?
You go online following that link that was sent to you, and you just add to cart, and then you will check out.
Okay, so you don't require anything like I don't know, resume or something. No. Okay.
No. It's it's too short of a course for that to be needed. So no.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Although, Yulia, I know that you are a resume specialist, so I'm sure that you would have it.
I was talking about my own, application form.
Yes. No. There isn't. You're welcome.
I think one of the things we should also mention in a course like this is there's a chance to meet a lot of high functioning people, and the relationships that get formed between course members. And Yulia, we talked just at the beginning about the fact that you work with resume preparation and things like that. So you get a chance to say that to the larger group, and you get a chance to sort of find out what other people do. There's opportunities given for you to meet other people in the course. So you're not just going to be sitting there listening to us talk. You'll be, okay, have a breakout room. Here's something you want, and get you to talk about things. So you'll get to meet the other people in the class, and usually those relationships have gone on for years afterwards, or with the people that they work specifically with, but also other people who are working in similar kind of areas. So hopefully you find somebody that you can learn from, and that just adds to the class.
Nadia, there is not a deadline to enroll, but there is that early bird pricing. And also when it fills up, it will be full. And then as we said, like we only teach this once a year. We're quite busy. And so this is kind of the one time a year that we open this up and teach this. I would say don't wait. Oh, Rachel, yeah, you're going to be away for 2 weeks in June. I think it depends. Like, if you're able to keep up with some of the coursework, then that might be okay. If you're completely away for 2 weeks, yeah, you might want to look at 2026. We do move pretty quickly because it's just 8 weeks. But if you're just like, we do also, it depends on how away you are, I would say.
I think we've had it work both ways. I mean, some of the people, like we can because there's a whole component of it that is just online. You can sort of see things at your, like videos and things like that. But yeah, we kind of work with. We will work with you to make it possible. But you might have to do a little bit more, obviously, work beforehand and afterwards to catch up. But talk to Andrea about your situation, and she's amazing at sort of figuring things out.
Yeah. We do record all of the live sessions, and so like you can catch up if you have to miss one. You just came off mute, Rachel. Did you want to say?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, in terms of whether the live sessions are going to be recorded and whatnot, and how much. It sounds like there may be a little bit of wiggle room in terms of being able to catch up or sort of front load some of the work and that kind of thing. I mean, I'll be touring around Eastern Canada, so it's possible I can kind of dip in every now and again, but I don't exactly know my schedule. So
yeah, I think the places you may get kind of stuck in that would be that like learning triad meeting. But if you're able to kind of work with and like people are generally pretty accommodating, and so if you can kind of work with your group to find a time that works so that will work, that would be the piece that might be tricky. But yeah, we do kind of work with you to make it work. We've had people take this course who have done it only asynchronously because it's like 3 o'clock in the morning where they are, which is not ideal, but we can kind of work things out if we need to. So if you're concerned about that, yeah, let me know, and like kind of, the dates you'll be gone to, then we can kind of look at it together early on and develop a plan for you in that.
thanks.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Oh, Chris, you're wondering about a payment plan. You know what? I actually don't know the answer to that, but I think I don't see why that couldn't be set up for people if that's something that you're looking for. And so if that's something that you're needing, you can email. I'm gonna just put her email in the Cynthia Tam is the learning support. I think that's her title. It's probably not. It's probably something else. Sorry, Cynthia. and I'll just put her email in the chat, and she would be the person who you could contact and just find out if you have questions about specifics around payment. Okay. So cynthia.tam@ubc.ca is her email address. And that's who you could talk to about the organizational coaching discount and also payment plan if you need that. All right, well, let's pause here. Let's see, I'm a coach and I can't not let a group go without doing like a check-in in the chat and tell me like, what are you taking away today? So let's do that. What's something that you're kind of, what are you taking away today that maybe you want to think more about, or is kind of leaving you feeling inspired and excited about this? Let's just put it in the chat and yeah, checking out the textbook is it's written as a client-facing workbook, and so it's something like when I'm working with clients, I will have my clients buy it, and then we work through it together, and so that's kind of the way that you can use it if you are looking for some of that additional support. Oh, hoping. Very good, Nadia. Nice.
Yeah. Storytelling, yeah, that's an important piece.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many different ways to use story. I think we have 1 week and it's just like metaphors week, and that's all we talk about for a week. But it actually is a lot of what we talk about for a lot of the different pieces. So you'll really learn some engaging and interactive ways of working with clients that kind of move things out of just the like sitting and talking and asking questions, but really kind of making sessions more dynamic and sticky, as Norm was saying, that really can get quite exciting and memorable for clients and really helps them move forward in and build momentum.
You know, I also like the fact that we work with people from so many different groups. Like we have people from corrections, and we've had people from working with rehabilitation and schools and colleges, and working with unemployed clients, working in in an HR capacity. Some people who are just liking this as part of their job and want to do something with that, or working in a volunteer kind of capacity. So we've had people from lots of different domains, and it's interesting, to give them a chance to connect with one another, but also to see how the range of possibilities for using this kind of work.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day. If you are looking for more information and want to even, just have like really specific questions, do reach out. But hopefully we'll see you in a few months.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Have a good
Thanks,
day.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Turn off the recording, I guess.
Yes, I will. Stop sharing and stop recording.
Is everybody on?